Hey, everybody, and welcome back to All Things Podcasting, the podcast where we talk about everything that has to do with your podcast. Today's episode is with Crystalynn Shelton, and she has had many career hats from leading accounting departments to Fortune 500 companies like Paramount Pictures, Texaco, and Intuit, to teaching for more than a decade at UCLA, all while authoring her Amazon best-selling book, Mastering QuickBooks, and opening her own consulting business. She has no shortage of experience in helping business owners successfully manage software technology that supports their business finances. And today we're going to be talking to Crystalynn all about how to know when it's time to hire a CPA, which is something that I am very interested to learn about because it has been on my list because taxes are always a nightmare, and 7 ways to ensure your business finances are set up for success in 2023. So welcome. I am so excited to have you, and thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Kaylee, hi. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. I am super excited to share some great tips with your audience today.
Awesome. So let's just dive right in. How can business owners, podcasters, everybody who is, making that money that's not your typical 9 to 5 job, how do they know
Mhm.
when it's time to hire a CPA?
Yeah, that's a great question. I typically recommend that you actually start out with a CPA as a partner. And the primary reason is most small business owners who start a business don't have an accounting or bookkeeping background like I do. And so it's great to have that help you determine or pick an accounting software package that would work best for your business in your industry. That person can help set it up and also train you on how to properly use it. So, initially all of us are bootstrapping our businesses or have it as a side hustle like I did while I was still working a 9 to 5. And so you don't always have a lot of money. I get it, to have someone do the books in the beginning, especially a CPA.
Yeah.
But I say you've got a budget to have that initial consultation, maybe one or two, to get the right software, get set up, and learn how to use it properly. You don't want to wait until your books are a mess to reach out because number one, it's going to cost you a lot more. And number two, it's just unneeded stress when you could just start out on the right foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for our listeners who aren't familiar with exactly what a CPA does, can you kind of just give us the
Mhm.
quick layman's term breakdown?
Yeah, CPA basically is responsible for helping you organize your business finances. So they will come in and help you determine how to categorize the money that you bring in, right? So if it's services and you're providing, podcasting or consulting services, how to track that income properly. And then the flip side is how to track those expenses that you're spending for the business properly, like your office supplies, your, office if you're renting a place, and all the things. They help you learn what is tax deductible, right? Because that's really important too. You don't want to miss out on any tax deductions. And so that person is well versed with what you can write off on your tax return, which is extremely helpful. And so I would just say in a nutshell, they just help you get your business finances in order so that you, at the end of the day, can have accurate, reliable financial statements, right? And for a small business owner, if you need to apply for a loan or a line of credit, the first thing they ask you for is, yeah, can we get the latest profit and loss statement, right? And so, yeah, that's basically what we do.
Awesome. Yeah, we went to refinance our house when the rates went way down, and they were like, "We need all of these forms." And I was like, "I don't even know what half of these questions are asking." Like, I have no idea. I do podcasts. I do
Exactly.
not do financials. Yeah, so
Right.
it's a good time over here as a business owner trying to that's the one of the big things I hear, especially from, people who are business owners and trying to buy a house or buy a car, and they're like, I
Mhm.
don't even know how to provide this information to people, because it's not like you have your standard 9 to 5 job where they're just like, give us your W-2 and your
Exactly.
tax return. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Exactly, exactly. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
All right, so let's dive into the 7 ways to ensure your business's finances are set up for success in 2023.
Okay. So I would say number one is what we just talked about, partner with a CPA. And if you can't afford an actual CPA, an accountant or an experienced bookkeeper will work. Okay. It doesn't have to be a CPA, but partner with someone who can get you set up on the right foot. So that's
Right.
number one. Number two, something that I see far too often is small business owners who commingle their business and their personal funds. And I started out that way too, right? Because the logic is, hey, my business isn't making money and my 9 to 5 paycheck is funding my business expenses.
Yeah.
So what's the point? But at the end of the day, it's important to separate those funds because you want to be able to see how your business is doing on its own. And you will never know that if it's mixed in with your personal income and your personal budget, right? For your personal expenses. So I always encourage my clients to set up a separate business account and a savings account. And if you're still having to fund those expenses, then write yourself a check from the personal account to the business account, or you can go online, right? Make a transfer. But either way, when you invest money in your business, you want to categorize it in that way so you can keep track of how much you've invested, right? Because hopefully one day the business can actually pay you back.
Right.
If nothing else, if you have a potential partner, one of the questions they'll ask you is, well, how much have you invested in this business? And
Yeah.
you can give them that answer if you've been tracking it. So don't mix business and personal accounts. And if you are doing that, stop.
Right now.
Right now, at this instance. So I would say the third thing I recommend is to automate as much as you possibly can. And so I know a lot of people start out using Excel spreadsheets, and I love Excel. Trust me, I'm an accountant and we love spreadsheets. But accounting software is a much better way to go because it actually does all the heavy lifting for you and it's a lot less manual.
Yeah.
And so you want to sign up for an accounting software package. I'm certified in QuickBooks. And so that's what I use. And the first thing I do is connect all of my clients' business accounts and their personal accounts to QuickBooks so that we eliminate that manual data entry and all the data is feeding into QuickBooks. And so it's just it saves you a lot of time that you normally would have spent doing manual things. And there's other things you'd rather be doing in your business, right? Than keying in numbers.
Yeah.
so, so I would say automate as much as possible. Another tip I give is use as little cash as possible to pay for expenses. And the reason why I say that is whenever you make a purchase and you use cash, you have to keep up with that receipt. If you don't keep up with the receipt, then chances are you're not going to be able to obviously find it because that's what a lot of people spend time doing from January till it's time to file the taxes. They're scrounging for receipts that they have everywhere.
Yeah.
And so if you are paying with a debit card or a credit card, then there's a record, right? You have a bank statement, you have a credit card statement. And so if you don't have the receipt, it's fine. You still have a record that you made that purchase. So that's why I recommend, to try to use as little cash as possible. Another tip that goes along with that is do your best to have one designated credit card that you use for business expenses only and nothing else. And if your business is too young to qualify for a credit card under your business name, get a credit card under your personal, under your name, but just use it for business, right?
Right.
Just designate it for business expenses. Again, it's going to be a lot easier during tax time if you just have one account that you can go to, say, oh, everything I bought, I use this card, and
Mhm.
here's a record of it, right? Instead of using 3 or 4 different, it's just unbelievable how many accounts my clients end up using sometimes. And
Yeah.
so you just want to streamline things by using one credit card if at all possible. Um, Another recommendation I'll give is go paperless. And so I mentioned the difficult time people have with keeping track of receipts, but you're going to have those times where, for whatever reason, you had to pay cash and you needed to, you have a receipt. And so that's fine. Accounting software like QuickBooks has an app that you can use to take a picture of the receipt, and it uploads directly to your accounting software. And so once you take that picture, you can toss that paper. And so that's why it's a great idea to just get on that system, and then you don't have to worry about looking around for receipts. They're in your software. So definitely go paperless. And then another recommendation that I give um, is schedule time on your calendar to review your books. And this might sound like, a simple thing, but for me, I'm one of those people that if it's not on my calendar, it probably won't get done.
Yeah, same.
So I actually have an appointment on it's like the first Saturday of every month because that's when most of my bank statements are in from the previous month by then. And I sit down, I have 2 hours. It's like the first 2 hours of my Saturday, with my coffee in hand. And I'm going through and categorizing whatever hasn't been. I'm reconciling my books. And then I'm generating my reports to take a look and say, hey, how much money did I make last year? I mean,
Mhm.
last month. I'm sorry, because I'm doing this once a month. How much money did I make last month? And where did I spend my money? Like, what was my highest expenses? Where did I spend money? It's important to sit down and look at those numbers because that gives you so much insight into what's happening with your business in terms of profitability, in terms of cash flow. And it also helps you to make some decisions, right? So, for example, um, you might run a report that's sales by product or service. And you might notice that there's two products in your product line that have the most sales, and then maybe you have three or four of the products that are very little sales.
Yeah.
So it's decision time. Should you
Yeah.
be carrying those products that aren't selling? Do you need to have a fire sale because you got a shelf full of products that aren't moving? And then that lends itself to let me talk to the marketing team and say, hey, let's have a sale because I want to get rid of this stuff. And then it kind of just gives you insight into, okay, we won't be ordering that again because it didn't move well or for
Right.
whatever reason. So many different insights that can be gained from having that sit down and looking at those reports. And so I definitely recommend that if you're doing this consistently, all of these things every month, when January gets here, it's not going to be stressful to file your taxes. You're actually going to be looking forward to it because guess what? You've only got 1 month to look at, and that's December because you've been looking at everything
Yeah.
and making sure it's categorized every month. And so that's why I tell people, believe it or not, if you work with me, the next tax season will not nearly be as stressful as the past, however many have been. And then you'll be motivated to keep this up throughout the year because you won't have that mad dash, to tax time when January gets here. And so, yeah, those are the tips that I always recommend to my clients. And they work out really well.
Yeah, I love that. That was like one of the very first things, like when I first started my business, everybody was like, get a separate bank account. So I was like, check. So I like went in and I just had it set up like part of our standard checking, but just with a
Yes,
debit card, a different account.
exactly.
So all still to this day, 5 years later, all of my money goes into that account first. I
Yep.
have a debit card that's associated with that account that I use to make all of my payments on. So
Right.
everything's all in one spot. I don't have to be like chasing stuff around. And this year
Right.
I have like some goals and stuff for the year. So I
Hmm.
started doing a widget on my phone. So every month, like you said, I go back and I track how much money did the business bring in as a whole? How much was I
Yes.
able to transfer to directly to our checking account? And then
Hmm.
how much did I pay out in expenses? So I can kind of look at each month and then like the year as a whole to see where I am tracking on those goals and are my expenses eating in too much to my profit?
Yep.
And where are those profits coming from? That's another thing I really like to track is like where are the clients coming from? Where are the sales coming from? Is it from the podcast? Is it from Facebook marketing? Like
Hmm. Hmm.
where's the money coming in? Because that's where you need to put more money towards so that you can keep that going.
Exactly. And you know what, Kaylee, it's funny you mentioned that. So QuickBooks, in addition to helping you, track all your numbers, you can also keep track of, like you said, this is one of the things I do is whenever I have a new client, one of the first things I ask is, how did you hear about me or who referred you to me? And I track that in QuickBooks. I can generate a report at any time and the customer type might say referral, or it might say Facebook ad, or it might say whatever. So I can run a report, and like you said, depending on where all the clients are coming from, that's probably where I'm going to put whatever marketing budget I have for that month to that.
Right.
Let's do more of that.
Yeah. Do more of what's making me money.
Exactly. That's so true.
I love that. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, all of the tips have been so great. Can you tell everybody a little bit about like who you work with and where they can find you?
Mhm. Absolutely. So, the nice thing about our technology like this is it's allowed me to I work with small business owners, primarily service-based businesses, but I do have some product-based businesses that are clients, and I work with people all over the country. So you can be in any state. I will work with you. I primarily use Zoom like this, and we share screens so that I can teach and train if I need to. So I primarily provide coaching to small business owners who want to either understand their books, even if they have a bookkeeper or accountant, it's important for you to understand
Mhm.
what they are doing. And then if you're a type of person, well, hey, I've got to do everything, then I can teach you how to do that. And so I have, they can go to crystallynshelton.com/podcast. And your audience, I have 2 gifts on there for them.
Okay.
So there's a checklist that I've created that will walk them through the process of the steps that need to be taken to close their books. So whether you review your books and you close them on a monthly basis or you only do it once a year, I have a step-by-step process for that. I also have a checklist on there for anyone who is brand new to using QuickBooks. So it's called your first 7 days in QuickBooks. And so step by step for the first week, I tell you what to do. And I actually refer to a chapter in my book, Mastering QuickBooks 2023, to tell you where to go to learn more about what that step is. And I actually last week just completed a YouTube video that goes along with the first 7 days in QuickBooks. And so, yeah, that's where they can go and find that information. Last but not least, I do offer a complimentary 30-minute consultation. So before I agree to work with someone, I like to meet them and talk to them about their business, find out where the pain points are, and find out what their goals are before I decide to move forward. And so I offer that to anyone who's never consulted with me before. Again, on that page, crystallynshelton.com/podcast, there's a button there where they can book the complimentary consultation as well.
That's amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for giving gifts to our audience. I love that. And I'm already have some people in mind that need those resources. So I will send it over and we will link that up in the show notes so that everybody listening can go over and get their QuickBooks and their finances all in a line so that, in January of next year, they're not losing their mind trying to figure out where they spent money and where their money came from and looking for all
Exactly.
the things.
That's right. You are very welcome.
Thanks so much for coming on. I'm so glad to have you. And I can't wait to hear all of the amazing feedback we get from our audience on this episode.
Thank you so much, Kaylee.